I like things to be concise. I like things to be simple. I like things to be understandable. I like things to be accessible.
One of the things I came across that, I found unique is this saying that you're passionately curious, but compulsively minimalist. So talk to us about what that actually means.
Yeah. So my part of the background of my office doesn't look super minimalist right now, but there is some form of, I think, order to what's going on. Passionately curious, I think, can be best described as like, I only do things I'm genuinely interested in. And genuinely is a hard word to kind of describe, right? I think that this kind of ties into like, what are the motivations of why you do what you do, and it's not that any one of those motivations are necessarily good or bad. It could be money, it could be fame, it could be status, it could be impressing other people. Like, that's all fine. And there's nothing inherently good or bad about that. But like, genuinely doing something is really, I think, for me, like following your passions regardless of what the outcome is, and just making sure that you're thinking for yourself when you're actually doing the thing. There isn't this other sort of chase that's attached to it. It's a pure action, it's a pure motive, and it's not clouded by any other competing forces. So that just makes me happier in the short term to not have to be in any place I don't want to be in, not have to do anything I don't want to do. And I'm still sort of figuring that piece out. It by no means is like done, but that kind of ties back to my early roots when I was 10, 11, 12. Like, I never was able to keep a steady job growing up because I just didn't like, it didn't make sense to me. I just got bored of it really quickly. And oftentimes when you're growing up and that happens to you, you sort of look like a bit of a failure, right? Like, oh, well, you dropped out of this thing, or you got fired from this job or whatever. And I took all that in growing up, that I was like, okay, I was just, I was a little bit of a loser. Why can't I just like keep a steady job or whatever? But I think in reality, it sort of set me on the path to get better aligned with the thing that I know that I'm genuinely curious about, and pursuing that as passionately as possible. And then also, as a byproduct of that, because it's so unique, because every single human being is so vastly different, it allows me to be the best at that one thing, right? So for me, whether it's starting this marketplace startup in the legal space, like, I want to be number one of that. Like, I want to be the best in the world of studying this particular segment of whatever it is, facilitating legal services over the internet. Like, I want to be the best of the best at that. And like, I think when you, at the early days, it's a little bit of like a scary thing, because you're sort of like, well, what's the market for that? No one knows about it. It hasn't been done before. Like, there's all these questions. But again, if you tie it back into doing things you genuinely want to do, it all figures itself out at the end, because the intent is pure. So sorry, that's like a long-winded way of trying to sort of explain it, but like, I'm pretty ruthless with like what I choose to pursue, because it's going to take up time, and that's our most finite resource. So I'm very careful about that. Compulsively minimalist is it kind of is like what you kind of assume it be defined in, which is just like less. That's kind of just like my personality, and it transcends into like the product experience of what I do. But like, how do I keep removing the layers of complexity? How do I keep removing the layers of choices? How do I just make it as clear as possible? From a company perspective, I love simple words. I love like quick explanations. I don't like long meetings. I don't like when things kind of ramble on and you're not, and maybe I'm doing that right now, but I'm trying to sort of like get better at that. But I like things to be concise. I like things to be simple. I like things to be understandable. I like things to be accessible. So that is a practice throughout all facets of everything that I do, from like picking clothes to figuring out what to eat to like um um even having a smaller group of friends that are like, but it's like when you narrow that down, you have a deeper appreciation, because that's the essentials. That's the
Yeah.
You get so much more gratification, like really just picking like one jacket that you absolutely freaking love,
Yeah.
versus like buying four or five of them because they're on sale and you just got it because, again, there's a cost. You're not doing it because you're wholeheartedly like all in on it. So I put those, I guess now, those four words as like a good summary of like my entire life, my
Yeah.
entire existence, basically. And it transcends well into the company. It's part of our ethos, core values, whatever it basically is. But I think that, it's a decent framework of operating, and everybody has their own sort of things, right? For me, it's that. For other people, it could be whatever. But I think that it's cool to kind of just define that out for yourself. And again, it's one of those things where like we were doing this like core value exercise with this business coach that we got, right? And a lot of times when it's like, why do you do core values? It's to sort of get the team aligned on like four things we look for when we hire people, or how we like to operate, or like who we want to let into the team, who we don't, all that kind of stuff. And there are certain companies that create really, aspirational values,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Versus what actually are your values. Your values shouldn't be things that you want to become, right? Like, I want to become better, faster, cheaper. Your values are what you already are.
Right.
You're already doing it. Your values are already set into place from day one. You're just operating within that. And your job is to pull that out of you, which takes a good amount of work, a good amount of honesty and realization. And then you start building the team around that, because then that's organic. Then it becomes so much easier, because you're just being yourself, and then everybody else can either choose to want to join that or not. And if they don't, that's great, that's fine too, right? Like that, at least you get to know way faster, and you don't have to deal with anything down the road.